Hello, and welcome back to the Becoming Relentless podcast. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Danielle Kusenberger. I just want to say thank you for always saying lovely. That's like your word. Every time you're like, lovely. It's just so cute.
I feel like that's just like the word that describes you.
Oh, wow. That's so sweet. I feel like that's the word to describe you.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely.
Yes. Today. Oh, jinx.
You say it.
Well, I was going to say today we have a super special episode, but I feel like they're all super special. So.
Yeah. This one's just immensely more special. Yes. Today we have a lovely episode.
Today we have a lovely, everything's lovely.
I'm feeling lovely.
Yes.
I'm feeling lovely without the love, bro.
Dude, I'm feeling like a crackhead, low key.
She
Your girl
on some
is like,
lean.
yeah, I am stimmed out today. So
how much coffee did you have?
Just a cup.
That's good.
Just
how
one
much
cup.
do you? What's your usual go to daily?
Girl, I'm about to expose myself so heavily.
Okay, expose.
I have been ordering a quad from Starbucks. So 4 shots of espresso on ice with 4 packets of Splenda.
Holy crap. Holy crap.
4 shots of espresso is like my go-to on ice.
How much caffeine is that?
Honestly, I don't know, but it's probably too much.
Should I look it up?
Yeah, let's
Should we not? Do we want to know? If it's over 300, you don't want to know.
If it's over 500, then just like give me a little wink. But
I can't give you a hard blink. Is what you mean. It was 4 shots of espresso, caffeine intake. Okay, cool. Load. My go-to is just a large coffee, black, and then I go home and have an extra. Whatever. So here's my thing. I like to have either like a store-bought coffee, like a big one, or like leftover coffee in the fridge at all times. So if I want to walk in and like, yeah. So if I get back home from having my coffee at the coffee shop and I'm like, dude, I need some more coffee. I can just have more sips.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel that. I used to do that too. I used to get the cold brew from like the store and just have it in my fridge. But then I would just drink that all the time, and that it was too much. It was definitely too much. Too much.
So you're good on the caffeine, apparently. I'm not like it's 260, give or take, which is not bad.
That's not bad.
That's like a day. Yeah.
And also like everyone should consider where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So, like,
considering where Noah's at, it's not bad.
Yeah. Like, dude, I think we started prep in March, and like I haven't been in a deficit the whole time. Like we've gone up and down, like reversed a little bit. And now we're going back into the deficit. And I always feel like this second time around, it's a little bit harder for me to like get into the fat loss like groove. Cause like I can get lean pretty quick.
But he didn't change anything, did he?
Mm-mm. No, we just added a little helper.
The Clin.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
Which that's probably why I'm like shaky today.
Yeah.
Just like tweaking.
That's funny.
But yeah, I do want to be conscientious of my caffeine intake though. Like I definitely I don't like to see people like just drinking coffee all the time, all day. I'll have it in the morning and that's it.
Same.
Like,
dude, I won't even have I'll have a sip, maybe just one sip later in the day, like 12. But I'm not gonna have a whole coffee.
Yeah.
And the reason why is the mental aspect, because I know even if it does absolutely nothing, if at 2 p.m. I know mentally I drank coffee, I'm telling myself I can't sleep that night. Like, you know? And so like I'll do a decaf, but I try to take Sundays as either less caffeine or no.
Or none. I like that. I do that too sometimes. Like rest days, I'll try not to have any.
I would do matcha, but I can't have matcha right now because the almond milk. I don't got enough fat for almond milk, bro. Dude, isn't that funny? Dude, I don't have enough fat for literally a cup of almond milk.
That's wild. I feel like people are going to be like, what?
I know.
D's on 0 fats. Just kidding.
It's actually,
that's a joke.
It's not, but it's like 10 grams of peanut butter or almond milk. I'd rather choose the 10
You'd
grams
rather
of
have
butter.
the peanut butter, yeah.
Deep dive into my diet. Hey, plug in YouTube.
Yes, you guys. Yeah. If you haven't already, go subscribe to Danielle's YouTube because it is amazing.
You're sweet. There's a lot of Noah on there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do make like a little bit of appearances.
Every video.
Yeah. And then I was like, wait a second, I feel like I'm in every video
add your
so
name
far.
To my bio? Danielle and Noah. That's funny.
That is funny. It's been really fun. And Sage is awesome. I love her vibe. I love everything that she's doing with like your content. It's been
Thank you.
really, really good.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're talking about becoming your own best friend.
Yes.
What that looks like. Obviously, Noah just moved downtown, so she's experienced more of that living alone life, which definitely helps you become more of your own person. Live like be your best friend, I think, because you have just more time alone. You know?
Yeah, I am alone, like completely. And what I used to be was like mostly alone during the day when I was working, but then Zach would come home. So now it's like, oh, I'm just alone all day. Like there is no other person that comes into my house. It's strange, but it's like a good strange so far.
Do you have any hard, uncomfortable, uneasy, lonely moments?
Not yet. And I think a big thing too is I have Murphy. So Murphy is my dog.
Not her son.
Yeah, he is my son, my dog son.
Noah actually has a child. He's 3.
He is 3. He's 3 years old. He's a lot. I gotta take him outside, feed him, give him some water.
Dude, honestly, dogs are kids.
They kind of are. Like they never grow up. They're just like kids. Because they're like so reliant on
funny.
you.
It's funny because they're like grandpa age, but you're like, dude, I take care of my grandpa. Like, you know, like you take care of him like kid.
Yeah. So like, I think because he's there, if I do start to feel like, oh, I'm a little bit lonely right now, or I feel awkward, then I'll just be like, oh, I'll take Murphy for a walk. And I can like.
That's a funny word. I've never used the word awkward for my alone time. I feel awkward right now.
I feel awkward.
Dude, that is awesome. I love that you use that word. That is awesome. So
you never feel awkward with your alone time?
No.
You don't? No.
I feel confused, conflicted. I feel sometimes frustrated. Okay, this is before. Okay, I'm going to rephrase some of the verbiage I use. When my mental's off and I'm too in my head about something or overthinking or just not in a great mental place, I feel confused, flustered. What was that word I just used?
Frustrated.
Frustrated. A lot of times when I'm lonely, I usually get a little sad, but I never feel awkward, which is funny because, well, one of my goals right now, and I've actually danced about it in my place because it's become way better. Like I still have these times throughout the week or a month where I do feel lonely and maybe my mental's not in the best place because you can't have a great mind. Like mindset's not going to be 10 out of 10, 24/7, right? So there's going to be some times where it's just like 0 out of 0. I'm just kidding. So recently it's been better. My alone time and being in my house alone used to be something where I was just like so uneasy. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be there. But now like I'm excited to look around at the walls. Like I think it's fun, right? Whatever happens. And the loneliness has become something I enjoy when overall enjoy while still having a sprinkle of this is a little hard at times, uneasy. That's part of becoming your own best friend.
Yeah. So when we talked about this episode or when you suggested like, let's talk about becoming your own best friend, like where did that come from? Where did it originate?
Great question. Dude, I'm so glad you asked me this question because, ma'am, this is probably the one question I want to be asked. So yesterday I was in the car. I was on my way to cardio. Well, let me back up here. What's yesterday? Yesterday was Tuesday?
Yeah.
4 days before that were tough mentally every single day. And I would wake up and it would start off great. And then I just get into this mental funk. And like there's obviously reasoning for mental funks. It's not just like, man, I'm just in a mental funk, right? So working through that, and then I got to Tuesday. And when I'm working through mental funks, I know if I give myself time to assess and just give myself grace, there will be a day coming where I feel, oh, I understand now. That kind of feeling. Like, I don't have the answers, but that's okay. I understand the way I feel. And I understand why I'm frustrated. And I understand why I feel uneasy. And now I can work through it. So when I got to Tuesday, yesterday, I was on my way to cardio around 2. And I was in the car and I was like, for the first time in 4 days, I am having so much fun with myself all the time. And so I felt like my own best friend. And I even told Justin, call me later that day, and I was like thinking about just what it feels like to enjoy your presence so much where you don't need another person to go do things. So you take yourself out on a date, take yourself out to the park, you take yourself out to go shopping, and you have just as much fun with yourself as you do if you had your best friend with you. And at the end of the day, it's hard to make yourself your best friend or look at yourself in that way. Or some people may be like, that's stupid, I don't want to do that. But I find enjoyment out of it because you are hanging around yourself more than you hang out with anyone else. At the end of the day, too, you know yourself better than anyone else. And one thing that I've realized when I came up with this topic that I want to talk about is that the number one person in our lives, whether it's because they're challenging you the most, they're there for you the most, they listen to you the most, they put up with you the most, they make you laugh the most, whatever qualities that you love about them that make them your number one person, at the end of the day, you have all those same qualities too for yourself. So like, for example, Justin challenges me and pushes my buttons more than anyone else in the world. And in some ways, like he pushes them where I'm so uncomfortable, where I'm like mad, but I also, no one else makes me uncomfortable in those ways. And I know the way that he pushes the buttons pushes me forward. So for that reason, like, he has that power. And so I was giving him a lot of credit for making me uncomfortable, when at the end of the day, I have the influence the most on myself to make myself uncomfortable, because I am choosing to be in the places to move myself forward, to be uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
That was just an example. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I was actually thinking about Zach when you were talking about Justin, because I was like, he does the same thing for me, but in a different way, where I think Zach is really good at like living in the moment and being very present. And so when I'm just like, because I get in my head a lot, and I'll just be going a mile a minute. Like, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. I got to do all this stuff and all this stuff. And he'll just be sitting there and he's like chilling. And I'm just like, oh, okay, it's okay to be here. But that would make me uncomfortable. Like, I'd be like, why are you so chill? Like, why are you so calm? And he's like, all of those things you just listed, like, I know you're going to get them done because that's the kind of person that you are. Like, you're going to get this stuff done, but it doesn't all have to be right now. It doesn't all have to be right away. Like, you can be here in this moment and just like take a breath and like be okay, and then go about your day. And like, he challenges me that in ways that make me uncomfortable, that make me be like, oh, I want to be more like him. Like, he gets shit done, but in a very like calm manner. And I'm like, wait, I want to be like that. And I feel like he also challenges me in ways that like it makes me look at myself and be like, okay, I do have those qualities. I just haven't allowed them to come out and like shine. Like, what I admire him for, like you were saying, I am capable of doing that and I have that inside me, but I haven't let it like come out yet. And so it is like, I really feel like I heard this quote a long time ago. I forget where. It might have been on Instagram or something, but it was like, the person that you are with, usually they're like, or anyone who's really close to you. I mean, it could apply to anyone. They're a mirror, like they're reflecting back to you your qualities. And maybe it's a way, like relationships that you have are a way that you can see yourself through. Does that make sense?
Yes. I
like butchered that quote too.
No, but it's true. I agree. I think it works hand in hand with the quote of, so, I don't know if I fully believe this. I think this is like a 70% true for some relationships. Your partner's like the opposite of you in areas, but you also have the same mirror qualities. So
yeah,
you and Zach, opposites in terms of he's very calm and you want to get it done right now. But y'all's qualities in terms of you have the capability to be calm and you want that, and he has the capability to be like you and want that, is what makes y'all mirror each other.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I like that a lot. Do you think that if someone's not okay with themselves, that they can be okay within their other relationships?
You're asking a girl who's been there. So through my experience, my final answer anyways, even if I didn't experience this,
Mm-hmm.
your relationships do reflect yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if your relationship with yourself is taking a back turn or decreasing, even if your relationships don't show it right away, eventually they will decrease as well. Whether that be through connection, through quality time, through showing your affection, through you receiving your affection, through anything, even with business growth. Like, I'm sure you've realized this too.
Mm-hmm.
When my mental's off, example, last week, even though I was doing all the same things, my mental was off and fuzzy, my business didn't necessarily grow in the way that I wanted it to. Yesterday was a great day. Yesterday was the best work day I've had with productiveness and like outcome that I've had in the last week. So I do, like, relationships, business, anything, I think everything mirrors yourself and how you're feeling. Yeah. And also because you see the world through this view of whatever your mind's at as well in that moment.
And I feel like that's kind of what we talked about the other night too, where your thoughts and your perceptions and where your mental state is at is directly reflected in your reality. Mm-hmm. And so we are very aware, I think, of where our thoughts are at. And that's why we can identify when our mental health is slipping, because we know that we don't want that to be reflected in our reality. Mm-hmm. Like when we're feeling a certain way, I think we've gotten to the point where we can identify that and we're aware of it. And it's just kind of like what you said, like you just ride it out and know that you're going to come out the other side and you're probably going to know why. You're going to learn more about yourself. But like in those moments, it is hard because I get caught in almost wanting to ignore it sometimes and just like push past it because I'm like, well, I don't want these negative thoughts to then manifest into something negative in my life.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny? I have the same thing. And then I end up taking raw sleep or melatonin and then I dream about them. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it. I'm just kidding. But that does happen at times.
Melatonin.
Dude, when I take melatonin, it's like my worst dreams, my worst like mental struggles like become like the dream of the night. And I wake up, I'm like, okay, cardio, we're going to assess this one.
Did I tell you about my dream? I didn't text her. I should text her with Megan Long in it. No? Okay, so like you know Megan, and if y'all don't know Megan Long, you should. But
I had her on the pod.
We should have her on the pod. She was in my dream, and she's somebody who has always given it to me straight, like 100%. She just doesn't bullshit me, and I love that.
Yeah.
And in my dream, we were training together in Florida. It was like me and her and somebody else. And she turned to me and she was just like, you should just keep growing this year. Don't pro debut, just keep growing. And I looked at her, I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you've been on prep forever. Just call it, just grow. And I woke up from that dream and I was just like, what the heck, Megan? And then I spent the whole day just kind of like marinating on it. But I did realize, I was like, you know what? That's a thought that's been in my brain that's like a fear. Like I have this fear.
Oh, wait, we're talking about this. Keep on going.
This fear of failure, I guess, or this fear of like not getting on stage. Or what did you think I was going to say?
No, I just wrote a caption and posted it exactly on this topic, literally minutes before we walked in here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to go back and we'll go back and read that. But I just kept thinking that day, like after that dream, like why is my subconscious bringing that up? Like I think about Megan, but I haven't talked to her in a little bit. And I was like, why was she in my dream? Why did she say that to me? What was my subconscious trying to tell me? And what are these feelings that I'm working through? Mm-hmm. And then I had my check-ins with Justin and he was like, oh, let's drop the hammer a little bit. Let's like peel some body fat off and see what we're working with now. And that's kind of the signal of like prep. Like we're starting, the gears are turning again for prep, maybe. And I was just like, oh man, with this dream and then now with this protocol change, I felt a little bit conflicted. And so then I went and I journaled about it for like an hour. Like I sat with Murphy on my balcony and I just like wrote all of my thoughts and feelings out. And I think I've come to a decision that I'm like very at peace with. But that dream, man, it like threw me for a loop. And like the emotions that I was battling, because there's like fear and doubt. And then I was beating myself up because I didn't want to feel those. I didn't want to doubt myself. Because then I didn't want to manifest that into reality. I didn't want to fear something that hasn't even happened and be so afraid and I just end up not doing well, I guess.
That's the same thing that happens in relationships as well, with like partners cheating or partners finding new love or friendships or goals like yourself.
Yeah, like having that fear.
Or taking a chance in your career. I love that you brought this up. I love that you brought this up. So the caption I just wrote was due to my younger self, and honestly, myself now too. What am I saying? Both of us right now too. We wish so badly all the time to never feel the things that would hurt us the most, like that, like fearing failure or fearing missed opportunity or fearing not making it through this year, or fearing you not doing well, or fearing your partner cheating on you, or fearing your partner finding new love, or fearing anything. We wish like so badly to not feel the hurt from that, the disappointment, the anger, the frustration, all of these things that are quote unquote negative. But that's what creates our own story in our life at the same time. And I've realized that through operating on safety of not speaking those things, or not speaking your emotions, or not allowing your mind to go there, it ends up happening no matter what. Not necessarily in the same way. For example, you might have a great year, but something will happen that makes you feel the emotions that you didn't want to feel. Or with your partner, you may be told, for example, if you're fearing that he's going to find love with someone else, not directly that he finds love with someone else, but y'all have a decision that it's better to be distant or part ways during this time. So it's not the same story that you had in your head, but you're still getting the same feeling of disappointment or frustration or sadness or being mad or anger or uncomfort or uneasiness or being scared. I think those feelings that we try to run away from happen no matter what, and that's what makes us more human, and that's what makes our story for ourselves more exciting and life more exciting. And so I think it's super cool that you brought that up. But I also think it shows your strength and belief when you're able to voice the insecurities that you have, maybe about your dream or about the conflict you have with reality in your mind, or any conflict that you have with yourself, because you don't want to voice them or write them due to being scared of them happening. But if you're comfortable and welcoming to any opportunity coming your way, or welcoming to any experience that might happen that you can't even dream of because your mind didn't let you have that as an option, then you're going to be able to enjoy the different experiences coming your way as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It reminds me of, I've been reading The Power of Now, like every morning.
Great book.
It's really good. Book. And it reminds me what you just talked about. I literally read like a passage this morning. So what I've been doing is waking up and immediately reading, because it helps wake my brain up, but it also kind of sets the tone for my day. And the passage this morning was talking about acceptance, like accepting what is, and not putting your logical mind to it, like disconnecting from your mind. So just observing your thoughts, observing your mind, but not putting judgment or letting emotion start to cloud the present moment right here, right now. And one quote that I like underlined was just, he said, accept like what is as it is, and then take action if necessary. So I like in my head this morning on my walk with Murph, I just kept thinking like, accept the situation as it is right here, right now, like every footstep, like just accept. And like really just like trying to ground myself and be like in the present, be in the now. And then I wrote on my hand now, because it was just really powerful. And like, I think it connects to what you're saying, because if you're able to just accept the emotions now as they come, accept them, let them be, let them flow, and be able to verbalize them to your partner, like if as they're coming up, then you can accept them. Like you've accepted that they're there, they exist, you verbalize them, and then you can move on.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
I think
it's full circle.
Yes. Acceptance is super powerful though, because like you said, we try to push away the fear of the feelings that we don't want to feel and experience, even though they make us literally grow so much. So much. But it's the same thing of not accepting poor emotions or thoughts that you have that you view as poor. So like jealousy, for example, jealousy is viewed as something egotistical, which it is egotistical. It's an egotistical emotion and it's viewed as very negative. It's only negative if you allow it to be negative. Because if you can be acceptance and aware of yourself being jealous of a certain situation or someone's goals or someone achieving all their goals so easily or someone being ahead of you, it's also you admiring them and you wanting a quality or situation or thing that they have, which can be a goal or something you look up to. So the jealousy can be made into something motivational.
Yeah.
And not necessarily negative.
Yeah, totally. I think like jealousy could be maybe like the initial like emotion, but then if you go beneath that, like what are the layers underneath that, what is causing it? And then you can turn it into something positive or that brings you together. I don't know why. I thought about like a memory that I have with Zach.
Oh, I want to hear.
Dude, we were in the grocery store and we were going up and down the aisles and we got to the end of the aisle and this woman like crossed in front of us. You know how like grocery stores are like intersections? So like we let her pass by and she gave Zach like a look. And then I saw Zach look back at her and I got like a little like, just like a pang of like.
You have protectiveness.
Yeah. But it was weird because I was like, oh, I haven't felt that like in a while, like a little like jealousy and without even thinking about it. Like it was so subconscious. We like turned the corner and I put my hand on his back and then I started laughing and he goes, what? And I was like, nothing. And he goes, what just happened? And I was like, dude, you're going to laugh at me. And he's like, nah. So I told him, I was like, oh, I saw that girl look at you. And I got a little jealous. And he goes, oh, I knew it. He's like, I could feel it. I could feel you like get a little, he calls it like spiky. And but then we laughed about it and we were able to like almost connect over that just random moment. Yeah. Like it was like a positive thing for us because we laughed about it. And then like later he was like, hey, thank you for like expressing that and being vulnerable and telling me. Because
makes him feel good.
Yeah, it did. It made him feel really good.
Exactly. I love that because I know, especially for him too, and like between y'all, like it feels good to be wanted by your partner and feel.
Yeah, and like we just laughed because I was just like, dang, it's been a while since we've had like a little interaction like that because we've been together for so long. I feel like we were kind of in a routine, like in a pattern, and so that's why I think this situation too that we're in now, living separate, is going to be really good for us. Like it's been really interesting. I definitely noticed myself like missing him and then making up excuses in my head of why I should go like see him. And I was like, oh, I need to like clean my car and like wash it. Like I should go see Zach and we can wash my car. And then I was like, no, I can literally wash my car by myself. Yeah. Like I don't know why I'm trying to like finagle something.
But it forces more quality time.
It does, yeah.
Which is something, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So that was my little story.
I love it. So on that though, quality time with your partner is like obviously something that partners want from each other most of the time. But quality time with yourself is also super important. So I think a lot of us, like I used to do this too. I used to work. I would think, oh, I was alone all day. But I didn't actually spend any quality time with myself. I worked. Maybe I was in the car with myself. Maybe I like trained by myself. But all of these things like are stimulations that aren't really progressing your own quality time alone. And like you think about doing something fun with Zach, even though washing cars may not be fun. I'm just kidding. It is fun. But like going to the movies or taking Zach on a date or I don't know, whatever quality time y'all spend doing with each other, like do that with your own self. And that's how you really build that relationship with yourself. Do you do anything like that with yourself?
Not yet, but I do have thoughts and like plans to do things.
Question.
Yeah.
Are these thoughts and plans been thoughts for a long time and not really acted upon yet? Or unsure when it comes, not unsure on what to do? And it's okay to say no. I might be wrong.
I think it's kind of a mix of both, because I think about when I was in college, I would be alone a lot because I would I stayed in Colorado for a summer to work. I didn't go home, but everybody else went home. So I had like a 4 or 6 week period where it was just me in this house all alone. And I used to do things by myself, like just like read, or I would like paint, or I would listen to music really loud and just like dance around the kitchen and like bake. And so I used to think about that and be like, man, I wish I could do that. But then I just never would. And so now I have that opportunity again, I think, living alone, to just like put on some music and do whatever I want.
No, I love it. It's empowering when you can do that.
I think I haven't done it almost because I feel like I need to be productive, and I'm trying to break that down within myself, because giving back to myself and giving myself that quality time is productive. But I think moving here to Austin, I was very focused on growing my business and bodybuilding, and just really focused on those two alone. And so now that those are both in good places, they're almost on autopilot. I would say not business, like I'm still really actively growing my business, but the methods of doing that, I know how to do that. Like it's just about implementing it and continuing to try and to go and not let it slip. And same with bodybuilding. Like I know what I need to do. That's autopilot. Like my protocols are my protocols, they get done. But now I have the time to spend with myself, and I have not chosen to yet. But I will.
I do like it. I understand the time period before you actually start giving yourself quality time. Like the transition time period, I would like to say, where you know you want to do it and it's thoughts in your head of what you might want to do. You just haven't done it yet.
Is that how it was for you? Did you have like a transition period and then?
My transition period looks like, for example, it'd be Monday, and I would be like, this week sometime I'm going to do this with myself, paint at the park on my free time day. So say Saturday comes along and I'm sitting on Saturday and I'm like, what do I want to do? Well, I don't want to paint anymore. So what do I do with myself? And then I would skip my quality time because I didn't know what to do, which is pointless. I know. And I would get frustrated with it and be like, I just spent my last hour contemplating on what I should do with myself, when in reality, anything would have been fun in this moment. If Zach were to call you in this moment and say, let's do X, Y, and Z, and this could be like a list of 5 different options, you would say yes to all 5 of them. Why not say yes to all 5 with yourself? Even if 50% of you thinks, oh, I could be doing this instead. Why don't you just try? Why don't you just spend 30 minutes? Just put an effort, go to the park. You get there, you color for 10 minutes, you decide you don't want to do it anymore, go back home and work.
Your crayons are melting because it's 100 degrees. You're like,
exactly. Yeah. That's the point though. Like,
yeah.
But then you would laugh, and that's quality time with yourself.
Right.
Like you would laugh. You would like have fun.
Yeah. It's like about trying more than it is.
It is, because if Zach were to try with you, try to do something, that alone means more to you than anything. Yeah. If you were to try with yourself, that alone means more to yourself than anything. It's the effort. It's so planning and contemplation is good until you don't attempt to actually try. Is that?
Yeah. I think a lot of people get stuck in like the planning stage, or they try to make it perfect in their heads, because I think I used to do that, where I would want to make this scenario really perfect. But I think, like you're saying, if you just try and just do it, even if it doesn't last more than 5 minutes, hey, you tried.
It doesn't even, yeah, exactly. I used to do the perfection thing where I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to the park at this time. I'm going to bring a blanket, my lunch, my food. Well, I just said that. XYZ. and then I'm going to read, and then I'm going to look around, and then I'm going to journal, and I'd have this list of things, and it had to be like this in this order. You don't have to journal. You don't have to read. You can go to the park without your lunch. You can go to the park literally on a random day without a blanket. You don't have to have the perfect setup. You don't have to do anything. You can literally look at a stick the whole time. And if you leave, like, that's okay. You don't have to. I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves to do something productive in the moment with their quality time, like reading, thinking, well, I want to explore my self-discovery, so I have to read during this time because this is my quality time. If you don't want to read, don't do it. If you don't want to color, don't do it. If you don't want to do X, Y, Z, don't do it. So what I started doing, I don't do this anymore, but when I was first implementing the quality time, I'd make a list of like 10 things in my notes of things I might want to do that week or this month. Go to the pool by myself, go to the park by myself, go on a date, explore X, anything. That way I have like a safety toolbox in case like I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I have options.
You can pick one.
And that really helped spark my creative mind. That's how I got into the drawing, because I would have, if I didn't write that down and actively have that as an option, I would have never made myself explore it. But there was times where I felt like I needed to do it. Like I needed to draw during this time because that's my self-exploration. It doesn't have to be though. Like so something that I found out about myself through my self-quality time is that I am very curious in terms of different interests, and I don't stick with one thing for a very long time, but I will always come back to it. So for example, before I started prep, getting like maybe 10 weeks ago, I was really into DJing. So I ordered the DJ set.
Yeah.
I've done it once. But I know for a fact I'm going to come to it.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I love music. I love it all. But I'm not forcing that on me. The painting, I knew it lasted 3 weeks and I still like it. I just don't have a really strong desire to do it. So I'm not going to make myself do it, even though I know it does help me immensely be creative. So having like options around the house too of things you will want to do eventually, but not making yourself do it because you don't want to do it helps a lot.
Yeah. Do you think that just laying down like on a mat with your own thoughts, like, is that quality time?
100%.
Okay, sometimes
I think that's
I
almost
do that.
stronger than anything. That's stronger than if, like, for example, well, I guess everyone's viewpoint is different. If the person I was with asked to go lay down on a blanket and explore thoughts, that would be the number one thing. I would be like, oh my
yeah,
God.
like, let's go. Yeah.
That versus let's paint. I would definitely choose that. So, but that's just personal. 100% laying with your own thoughts, especially because it allows you to assess them.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful. But the thing too is people who are new to being alone or their own best friend don't know how to be welcoming to their own thoughts. They judge everything. And I used to be there too, where every thought that came in that wasn't necessarily positive or one that you wanted to have, you would judge it and think you're in the wrong. Or simply because you don't want to have the thought, you would ignore the thought. And you would focus on, this is what I want to feel, so I'm going to focus on making sure I want to feel all these things. Yeah. I don't want to feel jealous, but you do. You can't fake not wanting it because it will come back and then you will just have this mental hole of crap to gun through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people oftentimes need to be taught how to face every thought, no matter what it is, without judgment and without being biased or without feeling like you need to change that thought immediately. If you are jealous or if you are sad or if you are mad, be it, like, let it be. You feel this type of way? Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Sit there and feel it. Like, let yourself be resentment or let yourself feel resentment. Or let yourself feel happiness. I think so one thing that was big for me when I moved out of the Whitley, I entered the Whitley with a lot of mental struggles and resentment towards myself. So my home at the Whitley mentally was not good. I told myself when I entered the Hanover, like my home there, the actual room, no matter what obstacles came my way, good, bad, anything, I will welcome anything and be like unapologetic with the emotions that I feel and feel okay with it, because I needed my home, my safe place to be a place where I was okay with every negative emotion and sad emotion and mad emotion and frustrated emotion and happy emotion. And if I didn't have that, then I knew this home that I'm making would not go well and it would go downhill. So that's something that I focus on now within my own mental space, past my home, within my being, like wherever I'm at. If I'm frustrated with something, it's okay and let it happen.
I like that. How does your new home feel?
Good. I love it. Yeah. So this is the first time ever I love being at home. I love being at home. I used to like have to be outside. I feel guilty if I wasn't at the park. I'm living down in Austin. Why am I not at the park?
Right.
If you're happy in your home, cool. Like that's actually the safest, coolest place to be happy in. Mm-hmm. If you have to leave to be happy, that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Which I've been there.
I definitely identify with that. I think that the house in Buda was really cool for the first 6 months that we were here. But it got to the point where I was coming to downtown just to feel happy. Like our morning coffee dates, or meetings that were here, or even just hanging out at Justin's. It brought me so much happiness. And then driving back to Buda, I would just feel it deflating. Mm-hmm. And that's how I knew. I was like, okay, I have to make a change because I can't go somewhere for happy.
I think the same thing happens with people though. And well, it's not so much the place, for you it was, but for some people, it's the person that they are. So for me, it was the person, but I also blamed it on the place because for me, they work hand in hand. The person I was when I entered the Whitley wasn't who I wanted to be mentally, and I couldn't welcome any thoughts into my head and be okay and comfortable. So I made my home that feeling as well. But the person I was when I entered the Hanover was welcoming to anything. So the home was welcoming as well. And so I think it's the same with you. When you came to downtown, you are welcoming any opportunity that comes your way. So your home downtown is welcoming to anything that you want and may come your way as well.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Do you think the discomfort that you felt was necessary to help you grow as a human once you realized what it was?
Yeah, definitely. So, throwback story. I've always been very codependent, but given I'm 21, so I haven't had that much experience within life and being alone. When I moved to Cedar Park, I was alone and I was 18. I was 18. I lived alone for 8 to 12 months. And then I moved into the Bexley with Sess. I lived with people for 2.5 years, and now I'm alone again. But during some of that time, I was codependent on friends or Justin or just anything. I know for a fact one of the reasons why have struggled now being within the last 6 months, and right now my struggle is way more positive. It's still it's hard, but still just more positive, is because I've always had someone or something to depend on to distract me, or to keep me focused on work, or to keep me going on a goal, whether it's prep, whether it's you just got hired for a new business, so you have to be on your game, whether it's a new relationship, whether it's a new friendship, or you're living with your best friend. You're always stimulated. And so you never have time to sit down and be bored. And when you are bored, or you are still within your mind, that's when it's uncomfortable. And that's how you know you're not comfortable with yourself or welcoming with your own thoughts. So you don't really know yourself. But I do believe too, through my experience, when I was still and feeling uncomfortable and uneasy in my home, is because I didn't know who I was and what I wanted. Yeah. Everything that I wanted was because my best friend wanted it, or my boyfriend, or my boss, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to learn, who I was, or what I wanted to be. Same thing, like you dress how your friends dress, you think how your friends think.
Yeah. You start to take on the people that are around you, like what they want. But at the end of the day, it's really important to know yourself. And I also think to get to know yourself, you have to try new things and like go through that process of being uncomfortable, being bored, and figuring out without the external pressures, without what my parents think, what my boyfriend thinks, what my coworkers and my boss and the lady at the gym staring at me, like regardless of what they think, like what do I think and what do I want? And I think if you ask people, like, what do you want? A lot of the time it's hard for them to articulate that.
That's why when we got asked, "Who are you?" by Ross in the beginning of the year, none of us knew the answer. Like none of us knew how to describe ourselves as a coach. What are you besides a bodybuilder? Like besides what the basic who
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of us knew. And like I remember all of us were going through a like, what the fuck phase. Which was super funny.
I had this note on my phone. I could probably pull it up, but it was like, who are you? And then I had characteristics. And then I had asked my best friend, I had texted her and been like, if somebody asked you to describe me, what would they say? Like, what would you say to them? And she sent me this amazing paragraph back of like all of these things. And I was like, okay, but that's her perception of me. And what am I going to just like adopt that is me? Because she could,
that's what we do.
It could be true. Like all of those things could be true, but like, who am I to myself without the
like
external?
Take your name away, take your identity away, take your whole life away. That's something I also did one time. I heard someone say this is through this like mental practice. They're trying to strip themselves away just for a little bit, just to see like who they were. And they actually lost their ID. So they literally lost their identity. And so for them, that was like super powerful because they didn't have a name. They didn't have anything. They were just
just a human.
Yeah.
Floating.
But like all of us tie ourselves onto something like, for example, the podcast, because this is what makes us, we receive credit based off things like this. Like all of us, our careers, our jobs, our everything, our titles, who we are, what we do. That's how we receive credit, via like acknowledgement, but also via pay, so we can actually live. But none of us see credit or anything based off being just a human. So that's why I think we're always so tied on what's next and what do we do all the time.
Wow, that is really powerful.
Oh.
I love that you shared that. And now I want to deep dive into myself. Like I want to go home and write some things and just sit with myself and definitely schedule some quality time. Because
you know what I'm also doing right now? So given my communication could be more free flow, when I think of myself and I look at myself from the outside in, like if I were to stand right here and look at myself, I'm like, dude, this girl has all the qualities that I'd ever want to be. Like speaking about myself. But yeah, I can sit here and feel insecure within the qualities that I have. How is it that I can look at you, if you were me, like literally me sitting across from me and being like, well, I want to be her, like literally her, but it's me. A lot of us would say the same thing. Like you would sit, if you could sit right here, you would be like, dude, I want to be Noah, but you are Noah. And so if you can get out of your head and like view yourself from the outside perspective of, wow, I am that person, like I am everything I want to be, it's going to help you move further in more authority in your life.
Where did that come from, that idea?
This morning I was sitting down and I was talking to Jill. And I really don't know, but I know what I was struggling with this past week. And I know one of the biggest problems I have is communication with certain individuals, and free-flowing communication, and being perfect with what I know exactly where this came from. Being perfect with what I have to say and think. Everything has to be perfect. Meaning I'm insecure in my thoughts and opinions and my vulnerability within myself. And so I sat back and I removed my head, and I like took a step outside of my body per se, like mentally, to assess, why am I so insecure? Like why is there a blockage on being open and vulnerable with my thoughts, when I know I can tell you can speak anything, it doesn't matter if it's wrong, it's okay. But I can't tell myself that and feel okay. So I decided, if I can tell you that, why don't I just take a step out of myself too and tell myself that? And then I looked, like, throughout this mental assessment, I was like, dude, if I could be anyone in the world, I'd want to be myself. Like, I'd want every quality that I am. I want all the hard work. I want the mental battles. I'd want all the good, the bad. Like, I'd want to be me. And so that allowed me to feel more powerful, and knowing that, dude, who cares if I'm wrong? Like, who cares if I stumble on a word or don't know how to say something or am wrong about every emotion that I speak? Because I'm human, and like, that's okay.
Yeah.
So stepping outside your body, definitely very powerful.
That is very powerful. I really love that. And that's very vulnerable. I feel like today's episode is very mental and vulnerable. And I think that it's important for people to hear our message. And you can definitely tie this into bodybuilding, but more so just like as a human, how you can truly become more relentless, which is like our podcast, is by knowing yourself and exploring yourself and not being afraid to be imperfect. Because I definitely think that a lot of us struggle with that. I know I struggle with that. I don't want to vocalize things and be wrong, but I would more so say I've noticed that in others, it's easier for me to be vulnerable and just speak my emotion, but sometimes I wonder if it's too much. And so I like that we're almost on like two ends of the spectrum. Like, you're working on being vulnerable with your emotions, and I'm working on accepting and being in the now with my emotions.
It's admirable for you to be able to speak freely, speak too much. Like, and not saying that you do, it's admirable that you think you do, because a lot of people like myself struggle with speaking at all. And so I think you should speak more. Seriously, I think everyone should speak too much about their thoughts. Who cares? That I think the more that you speak, the more that you assess and find out. It's like the more you try, the more interest you do, the more you assess and find out.
That's so true. I like that a lot.
You never sit there and journal too much and be like, wow, I journaled too much, I don't even know what to think. You journal and you're like, wow, I journaled a lot. I know everything that I wanted to know, or I got everything out that I wanted to get out. And that's like what you're looking for. So why not just speak? Yeah.
So to me, it's like clearing the cache in your mind.
Cash, yes. Spend it. Run it
Yes,
up.
yes.
Hey. It's funny.
Well, so how is your mental health?
Today, good. Yesterday, just kidding.
Day by day.
Yeah. No, it's funny that it's sometimes like that. But like I said, the biggest thing is like giving yourself grace. I put that on my story yesterday. What I've learned recently, that the more grace you give for allowing any thoughts to enter, even if they're not thoughts you want to have, like, the better off you'll be. My mental health right now is what you asked. Sorry.
That counts.
Good. She's in a place where I'm proud of her.
Yeah. Good. I love that. Is there anything else that you want to deep dive into today?
How's your mental health?
How's my mental health? It's good. I think day by day, I get little fluctuations.
Life.
Yeah. I think this morning started out good, and then I was in a little bit of a slump. But then when you texted me, I was like, oh, I'm good. It's going to be a good day.
I think the most powerful question we can ask and be asked is, how are you, or how's your mental health? Something along like that line.
Sometimes when people say, how are you? It's very easy to just like automatically be like, good, fine. And like write it
It's
off.
also the context and what they're asking.
Yeah.
If they open the door like before you enter a podcast, how are you? I'm not gonna be like, you know what? Like I'm just going through all this, you know. Be like, good, let's do the podcast, you know? So I think it's like very important.
Yes, context.
Yeah. But one thing that I absolutely love to be asked is how are you? And because that's for me mentally right now is a open door of you're allowed and able to express what you want to express and say what you want to express. So that's why I think it's one of the most empowering questions to be asked.
And when you're asked, like, take it seriously. Like when your friends are asking you, how are you? Or how's your mental health? Like it's okay to answer truthfully.
I also try to listen to what you're saying and not what I want to say back. So it's different, a little bit different on podcasts, but if you're asking your best friend, if I were to ask you how you are and you give me an answer, I don't want to answer with, I've been there, here's what I do. I want to answer with, what does Noah need from me? How can I help?
Yeah. I think you're good at that. I think sometimes I'm in like problem solving mode. So I noticed if I am a little bit direct with my communication in that moment, I can ask like, hey, do you want my advice or do you just want me to listen? And just clarifying if I'm not sure. Most of the time I can tell. Like if somebody just wants to talk and vent, and then I just let that happen.
Which is powerful.
You know?
That's what I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I hope y'all received a lot of good stuff.
yeah, I think there's a lot of good nuggets in there. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening. We have a lot of really cool things in the works for the podcast. We are very excited for. So keep your eyes peeled on our social media. Peeled, like we're going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to be peeled. That's why we're wearing hoodies, because we're always cold. It's literally 100 degrees outside and we're cold.
Yes.
But that's part of prep and no body fat. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If y'all have any questions or want advice, just hit us up.
Yes.
We're like open doors.
Absolutely. Cool. Like, subscribe, share, comment,
Do
DM us, do all the things, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Becoming Relentless. We hope that you leave this podcast feeling really relentless. That's what our goal is here. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to reach us, you can reach us through DM. My Instagram is Danielle Kusenberger. Noah, where can they find you?
My Instagram is Noa McCabe _IFBB Pro. And our Becoming Relentless podcast Instagram will also be linked in the bio. Make sure that y'all keep coming back every week. Like, share, subscribe. We love being tagged in your stories. And as always, leave us a comment, any questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.